Hi everybody, it's Clint here again, and I have a couple of things to say today because Katie accepted my challenge. I haven't really been given a guideline for many questions for this installment, so I'm going to talk about some of my own stuff that interesting me the last couple of days. Now, the first thing had to do with a site I saw from my oldest friend's other brother, and he showed me the site, and it's called mistravel.com. Now, what the site does is it was for quote unquote attractive women, and if they wanted to travel but had no money. Basically, it was a web service that got them in contact with rich men who didn't like to travel alone, and, well, you could probably figure out the rest. Now, if stuff like this can be like advertised in the mainstream, that's not okay. And I mean, it's pretty obvious from certain things that the feminist movement has taken a pretty big hit this generation. I mean, not a lot of people seem to care about it like they used to. But if things like that are happening, I think we're definitely due for a revival. Now, the second thing I wanted to talk about is just while I was browsing the news stories today was apparently there was a doctor in Ontario where she had been sending certain patients away because they refused to let the doctors vaccinate their children. Now, I was kind of conflicted at this because on the one hand, I don't think doctors should ever be able to just turn patients away who need help. On the other side, the sort of her reasoning for this was that if a patient is completely disagreeing with something that she feels is an essential part of treating her patient, then what else are they going to disagree with them on? Now, there's something to be said about, difficult patients. But on the other hand, that's kind of a leap, so I'm not really sure where I stand on this. I mean, yes, it's annoying when you need to do something to your kid, and they're just against modern medicine or something like that. But there's a lot of people who have second thoughts about vaccinations. And, there is something to be said about, over vaccinating children. Like that's why a lot of people say that's why that kids don't have the immune system they used to, because the parents are not get dirty, they're vaccinated against everything, and their immune system just doesn't get a chance to develop. Now, but I keep going back and forth on this because, well, I am all for inclusion, but if a patient's being difficult, there's nothing you can do. So I guess you would really have to do that by a case-by-case basis. But I'm not a doctor, so the decision's not really up to me. The question we have to ask ourselves is, should this be in the hands of individual doctors, or should this be a decision by the hospital? Now, the last thing I want to talk about is, it's not a new thing, but it's something that I've wanted to talk about for a long time, but I was afraid it's a bit too controversial. It's the whole WikiLeaks thing with Steve Jobs, where he revealed all of these information from pretty much all of the world leaders in the UN. Now, a lot of people were talking like this guy's some sort of a hero, but you have to think a bit about the nature of diplomacy. in diplomacy, you give and take. You can't have all your cards on the table. And a lot of these countries are in very perilous decisions, and diplomacy is the only way that you might be able to avoid a conflict and completely have no bloodshed. But for that, you need to be a little smoozy. You need to know who to talk to, what to let out, what not to. Diplomacy is a very tricky game. Now, by revealing all the information that everyone was keeping from each other, luckily it ended up not being a lot of really important information. It was more like saying stuff like, so-and-so thinks Stephen Harper is boring. That's not exactly world-ending news. So, my stance on this, though, is that he could have potentially ruined years of work, started a war too. So I'm just glad that there was no harm done, and I also think I accidentally called the WikiLeaks guy Steve Jobs. That is not the case. I can't actually remember his name, but I'm definitely on the side that what he did was dangerous and irresponsible. And I may get a flame war for that, but that's how I feel. And I guess that's all my time. I'm actually going a bit over, so that was just a little bit of my random thoughts, and I hope you enjoy them. So, once again, I'll seize you when I seize you.